Good evening and welcome to the third biennial Jamestown College Candidate Forum, which is sponsored by Jamestown College and Dakota Central Telecommunications, and is brought to you live from the Student Media Center at Jamestown College. I'm Matthew Neese. Less than 12 days from today, Americans will have the opportunity to continue their cherished tradition of voting for their representatives in their national, state, and local governments. While we might know which presidential candidate we will vote for, do you know which state and local candidates you will vote for? As notable English statesman Sir Francis Bacon once said, knowledge is power. Tonight, we hope our discussion will help you make a more informed decision on November 6th. Before we meet our candidates, let's go over the rules of tonight's forum. Each segment will feature a different group of candidates. I will introduce the candidates, and they will then be given 1 minute in which to give an opening statement. We will then move into a question and answer time. While we have received suggestions for questions, the final decision of which questions will be asked was solely mine. The first question will be policy or current issues related. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer this question. The second question will deal with what unique experiences they would bring to the office. After the 2 minutes, I will alert the candidate that their time has passed. I will then address an identical first question and a different second question to the next candidate. We will proceed as before until all candidates have been asked 2 questions. If a candidate would like to address something another candidate has said, they will have to use their own 2 minutes to answer. And now we will welcome our first guests, Ryan Taylor, Roland Reimers, and Paul Sorum, who are running for the office of governor. Current governor and Republican gubernatorial candidate Jack Dalrymple declined our invitation to join us tonight. Ryan Taylor is the Democratic NPL candidate for governor. He serves in the North Dakota State North Dakota State Senate. A rancher and cowboy, Senator Taylor lives in Towner, North Dakota. Thank you for joining us tonight, Senator Taylor.
Good to be here, Matthew.
Roland Reimers is an independent and the Libertarian-endorsed candidate from Grand Forks, North Dakota, where he runs a local real estate business. Mr. Reimers, thank you for being with us here.
Pleasure to be here.
And Paul Sorum is also an independent candidate from Bismarck, North Dakota, and he is an architect and runs his business, Sorum Design and Build.
That's right. It's nice to be here at Jamestown College. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Reimers.
Sorum.
Mr. Sorum, I'm sorry.
I get twice. Hey, thanks.
My apologies, but thank you all for joining us here tonight. Now, Mr. Taylor, we'll start with you. Would you like to give your opening statement, please?
Well, Matthew, thank you for the opportunity. It's good to be here in Jamestown, and thanks for this ability to debate. In this campaign, I believe the issues in North Dakota are important enough. The time that we have is important enough that we ought to have a lot of debate. We accepted 7 opportunities to debate when we got into this race, and the governor denied all but 2 of those. And of those 2, only 1 was able to be distributed and really seen in prime time statewide. But we continue to believe these debates are important, and we're glad to be here. I ranch near Towner, as you said, with my wife, Nikki, and we have 3 young children that are 8, 6, and 4. We've served in the Senate for 10 years where we've gotten to look at the issues firsthand in North Dakota. And I think we all realize that North Dakota is changing. But we don't want everything to change as we go through this time. We have tremendous opportunities in the state, but they don't come for free. There are challenges to face as well. That's why we've set out policy positions throughout this campaign to handle those issues, and we look forward to the debate.
Well, thank you for joining us again, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Sorum, we'll go on with you. You have a minute to give your opening statement.
I'm Paul Sorum. I'm a small business owner and architect and a builder. I've worked in many rural communities around North Dakota, helping them solve economic problems like senior living, manufacturing facilities, many other projects. I have a background in finance and technology as well. It's really great to be here because part of my background, I spent 10 years in higher ed, culminating with a professor position at USC in Southern California. So it's really great to be here. I feel very at home in a college like yours, and it's nice to be here with the students. My position is people of North Dakota aren't represented by the current administration. He won't come to debates like this to listen to what they have as far as needs, as questions. He feels he's unaccountable, and people need someone to represent them, listen to them, and work for them. I feel that the position of governor is one of service to the people of the state. We should be working to their benefit, yet there are many, many people, the majority of these people in the state aren't doing as well as they'd like to be.
Well, thank you for joining us, Mr. Sorum. Mr. Reimers will finalize with you on your opening statement.
Okay, thanks. As mentioned, I'm Roland Reimers. I'm the Libertarian endorsed candidate for governor. And there's probably a lot of difference between me and the major party candidates, especially. Libertarians believe in smaller government and more freedom. We also believe in justice, fairness, and equality for everybody. Not just our friends, but for everybody, and that includes the criminal on the street and the person across the street that we may not like. Freedom and justice for everybody. My personal positions are quite different from the major candidates too. I'm solidly pro-choice. I'm solidly for fathers' rights. I'm solidly for shared parenting. And I'm also solidly for the eventual elimination of the property taxes. If you want to see a difference in Bismarck, vote Libertarian. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Reimers. And we'll stay with you for the first question. You will all be given the opportunity to answer this question. But Mr. Reimers, earlier this year, voters in North Dakota rejected a ballot measure to repeal property taxes throughout the state, which you mentioned. That proposal would have depended on the massive surplus in revenues from the Western oil patch to fund local and county governments. While the issue is dead for the moment, how would you, if elected governor, address the concerns many have that, in short, their taxes are simply too high? Is oil revenue the answer?
Well, oil revenue is part of the answer, although as far as oil revenue goes, I think we need to slow down the growth in the oil patch. We have too many social problems and infrastructure problems because of this rapid, uncontrolled, unplanned expansion of the oil patch. And frankly, if we're looking at investing our oil money, probably the best way to do it is leave some of it in the ground for future generations, because that value of that oil is just going to go up and up each year. Where the present governor has just, hey, drill, baby, drill. As far as using the money we have available, I think it should be used for property tax relief for one thing, and if you can't do it directly, do it maybe indirectly. Eliminate, the sales tax for the state and allow the local communities to replace property taxes with local sales tax. I mean, there's many different ways you could do it, but I look at property taxes as so draconian, so evil in themselves. I mean, if you turn around and the rates don't go up, your value goes up of your house, so you're stuck. And if you don't have an increase in income, you end up losing your house. People in Minot after the flood, where the values of their houses have shot way up. People in the eastern part, the western part of the state, because of the oil boom, their property values have gone sky high. Even though the mill rates stay the same, their property taxes have gone sky high as well, and they may not have the income to pay for it. So I think we need to do something with property taxes, and not just patch it, but eventually just eliminate it completely, at least as far as a major source of income for local government.
All right. Now, I'm going to stay with you, Mr. Reimers, for the second question. It's more on a personal nature. You've been a perennial candidate for office in Minnesota and North Dakota, as I understand. Obviously, you care deeply about the political process, but how would your experiences in the political arena inform your work if elected governor? You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. Well, I think every time I run for office, I learn a little something. When I go to these candidate forums, 90% of the joy of going to them is because I pick up something. I learn something not only from the other candidates, but from the members of the public who come up and talk to me afterwards. And that helps educate me to be a better candidate. I also bring a unique set of values, I would say, to the office. Let me give you an example. During the 1997 flood in Grand Forks, everybody kind of left town. I, on the other hand, got my work crew out the day after the flood. We were out doing recovery work in my apartment buildings, emptying refrigerators, taking care of cats and pets. We didn't leave that town of Grand Forks until we had every building secured, every pet secured, every tenant accounted for. And that's the way I like to run a business, and that's the way I would run the government in Bismarck as well.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Reimers.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sorum, we'll next go to you.
Okay.
Our first question was regarding the property tax ballot that failed in North Dakota. If you were elected governor, do you feel that there's an issue with property tax or taxes in general? And
Yes.
how would you address that if you were?
Well, first of all, the present governor, and I've watched him in part tour the state, telling people he's enacted $400 million a year in property tax relief, when really all that is additional government spending. That money has never gotten into the pockets of property owners. It's not tax relief. It's additional spending. All of our tax bills are higher than ever. You talked about oil tax money. Well, what about sales tax? It's up almost 70% over last year alone. Every tax revenue is up, and yet people aren't doing so well. You want to fix property tax? It's simple. They've changed the laws in property tax over 130 times over the last 30 years. But the solution is simple. If you wanted to do it, make sure you pass a law in the next session that says property taxes will not go up faster than the cost of living goes up, as measured by the Consumer Price Index. So you get your bill one year, and the next year, if it goes up more than that cost of living, all right, you're back down. That's as simple as it gets, and it could be easily done. Other states do it in various ways, but that's the outcome you want. Now, that's fair. We need the tax to maintain certain aspects of local government. Fine, you want to have the tax? Let's do it in a reasonable way so it doesn't escalate out of control. I've heard from farmers this summer all over the state. They get their new assessed value at least 33%, some of them 45%. When the state is projecting a $2 billion tax surplus in this biennium alone, that's just stealing. Now, look at the people in our state who own these houses and properties. Half of our population are seniors on fixed incomes, almost all of them. The rest of them, working families, most of them live paycheck to paycheck. In the last 10 years, the dollar's lost half of its buying power. And the dollar's going to go down much more rapidly because of the economic crisis. What is the state doing? They're planning much more spending. They're going to spend every penny. Mm-hmm. Why don't we enact real tax cuts so people have the money they need to survive this economic crisis?
I'm going to have to stop you there, Mr. Sorum. My apologies. But now I have another question for you, more on a personal nature.
Yeah.
But you originally ran on the Republican ticket for the GOP
That's
nomination.
Right.
But after losing to Governor Dalrymple, you chose to run as an independent candidate.
That's right.
Now, you've said publicly you are on the ballot to try and send a message. What is that message, and who is it meant for?
Well, the message is that government right now is working for itself. It's working for more and more government. And we have a choice here. You want to have the status quo. In the next 4 years, with the collapse of the dollar, you're going to have the vast majority of people making tough decisions like whether they buy medication or they buy gas for the car, whether they heat their home or they pay for health insurance. We're going to have a poverty problem. We're spending $1.3 billion a year on poverty in North Dakota. That's federal and state dollars. $1.3 billion for 670,000 people. If we're doing so well, why is that? Right? People could be doing better. And if we don't change state government to work for their benefit rather than the pile of cash, they're sitting on over $5 billion in cash reserves in Bismarck. It's not going to Fargo like some people in the West think. It's in Bismarck, and they're not using it for our benefit. Why don't we use a legacy fund, for example, to buy municipal bonds so communities like Jamestown can finance infrastructure they desperately need for the growth they're going through? What about other cities like Harvey, Rugby? Let's go to other places. Washburn. All these communities have growth problems, have housing problems. They don't have bonding capacity for a school in Williston. Why don't we buy short-term bonds? There'll be a rate of return. The legacy fund will grow. This is how government should work. Government's job is to serve us. to finance infrastructure with long-term financing. Mr. Dalrymple's trying to do it with cash. Meanwhile, we're struggling to pay our property tax bill. It doesn't work that way. It's inefficient. It's wasteful. And we need a real reform in state government. We can either lead the country out of this economic crisis, show the rest of the country how government works when we respect individuals, their freedom, respect their property, and work for their benefit and listen to them and be accountable to them. But Mr. Dalrymple feels that he's too elite to be accountable and be here and be asked questions by people like yourself.
Well, and we most certainly lament the fact that Mr. Dalrymple was not able to join us. Mr. Ryan, or Senator Ryan, the proposal to cut property taxes. What, in your opinion, was the proposal, like what was it intended for? What, in your opinion, is the proposal? What should it be? And is oil revenue enough for North Dakota?
We actually, in our campaign, were the first to bring out a property tax relief plan, and we did it in June, even before the measure was voted upon with Measure 2. We thought it was important to lead on that issue because as I travel the state, and I think everyone will agree, you go to the coffee shops, this is the tax that people talk about. This is the one that bothers them the most and causes the most disruption with their family income. Our plan was to take the homestead tax credit and increase it to $100,000. Reduce that off your full and true value of your property, and do that for every homeowner in North Dakota, for every business person who owns a home in North Dakota, and use the same $100,000 deduction on farmland values. If you have a $200,000 home in Bismarck, it would cut your property taxes in half. It's significant, it's meaningful, and the state of North Dakota can't afford to do that with the surplus dollars that have been generated, and we can continue to do that in the foreseeable future. We also, in our plan, believe that renters deserve some relief as well. Now, you can't do that on property tax, but we proposed a state income tax credit in our plan for renters in North Dakota. It'd be $900. It'd be a step in the right direction for renters in North Dakota. I think as we look at taxes, and we want to make sure that we maintain local control with the property tax system, counties and townships and cities that are trying to do the best that they can. I think to have asked them to go to Bismarck to get funding for all the projects that they need to do locally would have been the wrong step. But we have the ability here with our homestead tax credit plan to get them the relief. And everything we've done in our campaign is to try and look at the resources and abilities of North Dakota and how can we help North Dakotans? How can we help our own with the plans that we put forth, whether it's in property tax relief, education, child care, law enforcement. Let's help take care of our own.
Now, Senator Taylor, you've served in the state Senate since 2003 and as a minority leader since 2010. How would that experience help you as governor?
Well, we've certainly been around the legislature for 10 years now. We've been through 3 elections, and one thing you learn in elections, I think you get better every time because you have competition. That's why we welcome competition in this race for governor. That's why we welcome this exchange of ideas and feel bad that there's an empty chair here. I know the legislators. I know their families. I know how the system works. But I'm not in this race because I like the politics. Mm-hmm. I'm in it because I love North Dakota. And it's beyond the legislative workings that brings me to this race. The fact that we can travel the entire state, get the pulse of how people feel in all these communities, from Jamestown to Fargo to the smaller cities from west to east, to know what their concerns are. And as governor, you would want to use the bully pulpit, as Teddy Roosevelt would say, to lead the state. Not to just wait for crisis to develop and then react, but to actually lead the state in this special time in history where we have this opportunity to be better and not just react to crises as they come around. It's going to take active leadership, leading not only the legislature towards a better future, but also making sure that all North Dakotans are part of this and that they're talking to their legislators. And they say, this is what North Dakota can be. This is what we can do. We have a one-time harvest of oil. How do we make it a lasting harvest of prosperity for our entire state?
Definitely is on the minds of many North Dakotans, myself as well. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to be with us here tonight. After the break, we will hear from our state treasurer candidates. right here on JCTV 16.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vet.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. Five seconds is the average time your eyes are off the to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your friendly vets are all around you. Join our free online community.
Welcome back to the Jamestown College Candidate Forum. I'm Matthew Neese. Our next candidates are running for the office of State Treasurer. With us tonight are incumbent Treasurer Kelly Schmidt, who's running on the Republican ticket, and her challenger Rosh Mushik of the Democratic Nonpartisan League. Treasurer Schmidt was first elected to office in 2004 and is running for her third term as State Treasurer. In 2009, she was named a Toll Fellow for her achievements in state government by the Council of State Governments. In 2011, Ms. Schmidt was elected President of the National Association of State Treasurers. Thank you for joining us this evening, Ms. Schmidt. Rosh Mushik has a bachelor's degree in business administration and political science from Jamestown College, as well as a master's in international management. For the past 10 years, he has worked for the North Dakota Emergency Services as an account specialist. This is his first foray into elective politics. Treasurer Schmidt, Mr. Mushik, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll start with you, Ms. Schmidt. You have a 1-minute introduction time.
Well, as Matt mentioned, I was elected treasurer in 2004 and re-elected in 2008, and looking forward and have been enjoying the campaign process this year. The treasurer's office, as we like to say right now, is going through a lot of challenges, just like the state of North Dakota has been, and it's been my privilege to be part of those challenges and to continue to work forward to do the best that we can for our state and our folks. Lots going on in our state, as you know, and working on the State Investment Board, working on the Land Board, and working on many of those different boards that I do serve on in addition to the role as a state treasurer has given me the opportunity to be part of those challenges, something that has been a very interesting process. I believe we've been given many opportunities, and with those opportunities we will find great blessings as we move forward.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schmidt. Mr. Mushik, you have 1 minute to give an opening statement.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ross Mushik, candidate for State Treasurer. I come to you with a background in my bachelor's degree in business administration from here at Jamestown College and my master's degree in business from the American Graduate School out of Glendale, Arizona. I bring to you 22 years of state government experience in accounting, auditing, budgeting, and management, 2.5 years as a financial professional with American Express Financial Services, and also experience as a small business owner. I believe this office is so important because we are growing in the state of North Dakota. Our funds are growing, and we need to be ever mindful of all the expenses that are associated with the funds that are in our state investment board right now. We currently have a balance of about $5.5 billion, and we're paying out about $35 million in fees to Wall Street brokers. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mushik, and I'm going to address my first question to you. The oil patch in the western part of the state has brought significant amounts of revenues into the state, so much so that some people pushed for a constitutional amendment to abolish property taxes earlier this year. What, as treasurer, would you do to ensure this windfall in revenues continues to rise and can be sustained through investments for the people of North Dakota?
Of course, with all of our money that's coming into the state treasury, being invested in a variety of different funds, we need to be so mindful that it is the taxpayers' money, and we need to be watching out for all the expenses that are associated with those dollars. making sure that whoever is investing the money on the taxpayers' behalf is doing so with the best interests of our taxpayers in mind.
Well, thank you very much. Now, a second question for you, Mr. Mushik. This is your first attempt at elective office. You hold bachelor's and master's degree in business-related areas. What in your background qualifies you to be the trustee of the taxpayers' funds?
I served as a financial planner with American Express, and of course, anytime you go into advanced training, especially with the Securities and Exchange Commission, you're held to a higher standard. So the amount of training that's involved before you can become a financial planner is very intense, and going through that really teaches you about all the aspects of the operations of investments, the expenses associated with the investments, and how best to plan those investments for the end user. You just simply can't take money and invest it in something without first understanding the needs and risks and fees that are associated with each and every one of those. So that's where I bring that additional knowledge in.
Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Schmitz, as I asked Mr. Mushik earlier, the oil patch in the western part of the state has brought in significant amounts of revenues into North Dakota. Do you want to ensure, or as treasurer, would you continue to ensure the windfall in revenues and make sure that they continue to rise and can be sustained through investments for the people of North Dakota?
Well, Matt, that isn't the role of the treasurer with the Legacy Fund. At this time, the Constitution provides that the State Investment Board invests the dollars of the State Legacy Fund. Currently, we have hired a consultant to come in and do what we call an asset allocation study, which looks at the role and the uses of that dollars and then invests those dollars according to those uses. That exercise is currently being determined, and when that is complete, then the State Investment Board will then make the decision of how we will invest those dollars moving forward, always keeping in mind making sure that we are being responsible in our risk levels and marrying them up with what the legislature will be spending those dollars on.
Now, you've been in office for 8 years. You serve on several national boards and organizations. What in that experience makes you a better choice for treasurer than your opponents?
Well, I've been very privileged and very honored to serve on some national boards. This last year, in 2011, I served as president of the National Association of State Treasurers and had the opportunity to be involved in some of the legislation that was passed in Washington relating to the roles that I play in the state of North Dakota, one of those being the Dodd-Frank bill, as everyone understands, in the financial sector, some of the challenges that that bill has faced, not to mention some of the changes that we're seeing with ERISA laws or retirement laws and pension issues. I've had an opportunity to testify in Washington and to help promote ideas and things that would benefit not only North Dakota, but our nation as a whole as we work through those challenges.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Schmidt and Mr. Mushik, for joining us this evening. We would really appreciate your taking your time out of your busy schedules.
Thank you, Matt.
Campaign to join us at Jamestown College here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, we have the Public Service Commissioners, and we will have the candidates Brad Crabtree and Joshua Wojtek on set to discuss with me their campaign and what they'll bring to the Public Service Commission right after this.
If you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan, you may feel like you're all alone. But you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community. Get the resources you need.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
In 19...
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community. Get the resources you need.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. Five seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
In 1977, in Johannesburg, South Africa, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father.
If you're looking for a fun new friend, what a day. Shelters are the best places to find one. You don't say! There you'll discover healthy, happy, loving animals.
Nothing but the best.
Waiting to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. Five seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Welcome back. Next joining us are the candidates for Public Service Commissioner. Joshua Wojtek is the Libertarian candidate, and he is opposed by Brad Crabtree, who is running on the Democratic NPL ticket. Mr. Wojtek is running on a platform of not having any party loyalty and believes in reducing the size of government. He opposes favoring one energy source over another and also opposes cap-and-trade agreements. Brad Crabtree says he is committed to bringing nonpartisan balance and accountability to the Public Service Commission and supports efforts to expand on current efforts to partner with industry, regulators, and renewable energy advocates in other states. Now, Mr. Crabtree will give you the opportunity to give us an opening statement. You have 1 minute.
Great, thank you. Thank you for organizing this. Joshua, thank you for joining as well. I'm a North Dakota native, grew up in Bismarck, and my wife, daughter, and I have a small ranch west of Ellendale. We raise cattle and sheep. And I've spent nearly the past 2 decades working in the energy field on energy policy and technology, advanced coal technologies, renewable energy, energy efficiency. And I'm running for the Public Service Commission because I believe it's become one of the most important offices in North Dakota, especially with the development of our energy economy and the growth in agriculture. And I have 3 priorities that I'm bringing to this Public Service Commission race. The first is I want to bring back a consumer voice to the Public Service Commission and watch out for consumers, farmers, and all North Dakotans that the Public Service Commission is supposed to protect. I want to encourage more responsible energy development, and I also want to end conflicts of interest on the Public Service Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Crabtree. I'm sorry I have to cut you off there. That's a minute, and now we'll give you a minute, Mr. Wojtek, to give your opening statement.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm the Libertarian candidate for Public Service Commission. Right now, this year, we have 3 candidates on the ballot. One of the reasons that I'm running for Public Service Commission is I also agree with Mr. Crabtree that the Public Service Commission is going to be one of the most important statewide offices just because it has a great deal of regulatory authority over a lot of different issues that are going to be coming up in the next few years. I'm running basically as a attempt to return accountability to our candidates and our electoral process by running as a nonpartisan candidate. On our Public Service Commission right now, we have 3 candidates, all of whom belong to the same party. And I believe that if you have the same kind of perspectives, it results in a monopolization of ideas. And we need something different in order to examine some of those issues and to look at.
I'm going to have to cut you off there, Mr. Wojtek, but thank you very much. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier, gentlemen, about what exactly the Public Service Commission does, because not a lot of people understand, but basically it deals with public services such as gas and electricity, and especially with the oil boom out in western North Dakota, there's an increased workload for the Public Service Commission. But there's also been a number of charges of partisanship in the Public Service Commission. Is it a good idea that commissioners run on a partisan ticket, or should they, like some other state and local offices, be nonpartisan in nature? Mr. Wojtek will let you answer the question first.
Well, I think that's an excellent question. One of the big questions about it is if you're running on a partisan ticket, how much nonpartisan perspective can you really bring? And it's also important there's a toss-up on that too, because it's also important to identify what perspectives the different candidates are bringing. That's where it's important for voters to become informed on their candidates, to research what perspectives the candidates are bringing, what issues that they're standing for. And that's the important thing about having debate, about having many candidates on the ballot, which is one of the things that I'm really working toward on being on the Public Service Commission. And I'm very disappointed that we don't have our Republican candidate here, because bringing those all ideas, talking about them, discussing them, hearing where the different perspectives are, is the best way for our voters to become informed, for them to really become engaged in the process of the debates. I've attended many candidate forums with Mr. Crabtree, and we've learned a lot about the different issues that concern the different citizens in different communities, and that's the best way to do it, by going to those debates, by going to those forums, and by participating. So that's one of the
essential parts, I think, of the campaign is to be involved and to engage with the voters, because it's their voice that we're supposed to be representing.
Definitely. And Mr. Wojtek, your stand on reducing government and intervention in energy markets seems to be at odds with the entire notion of the Public Service Commission at times. How do you square those views with seeking the office of commissioner?
Okay. Well, I think that the Public Service Commission should be about a balance. It's about trying to find that balance between being we're a state regulatory agency, and also needing to respect the needs and the voices of individual and local communities. I believe that the most accountability comes at the local level, because that one's the closest to the voices of the citizens. And so some of the idea of reducing the size and scope of the government is looking at making sure that those voices of the communities are being heard in terms of environmental impacts, in terms of energy impacts, because they're more invested in what's going on in their backyard than anyone in Bismarck will be. On the flip side of that, I'm also opposed to overreaching federal mandates and regulations as well, for the same exact reason, that I think that someone in Washington is far removed from the issues that are concerning North Dakota, and that returning some of those issues to North Dakota makes it more accountable to the citizens here.
Now, Mr. Crabtree, I asked Mr. Wojtek earlier about the partisanship accusations against the Public Service Commissioner. Mm-hmm. What would be your responses to that? Should the Public Service Commissioner be nonpartisan?
Well, I think Joshua and I have a very similar perspective on that. I am the Democratic MPL candidate for Public Service Commission. Joshua is representing the Libertarian Party. Our opponent representing the Republican Party. I also have to emphasize my disappointment that he's not here. It's not the first time. That said, the Public Service Commission is a partisan ballot. I think if knowing what we know today, if we were doing things over in North Dakota, we would make it like the Superintendent of Public Instruction and have a nonpartisan ballot. But it is what it is. As for my own background, I grew up a Republican. I became an independent, and then ultimately in my 20s became a Democrat. I think from that experience is why in my professional work, I consistently work with people from all points of view, both political parties. In fact, right now in my professional job, I direct a national initiative to promote domestic oil production. And in that project, I have the coal industry, the oil industry, labor unions, environmental groups representing the entire political spectrum. And the work of this coalition, they just made recommendations to Congress, and Senator Conrad is a Democrat from North Dakota, and Republican Senator Mike Ency from Wyoming introduced bipartisan legislation incorporating these recommendations. And I have a consistent track record working across party boundaries nationally and in North Dakota. And I believe that that is the perspective and approach that's essential for a public service commissioner. I think it's a tragedy that ever since Susan Weefald retired, she was a very respected Republican public service commissioner, retired 4 years ago. When she and Bruce Hagan, a Democrat, were on the Public Service Commission, no one knew, listening to them, whether they were Republican or Democrat. But with our two incumbent commissioners, Kevin Kramer and Brian Kalk, they very much politicized the Public Service Commission, and that's a shame.
Yeah, definitely. But Mr. Crabtree, moving on to your next question, you state that North Dakota should partner with other states to develop a high-voltage transmission system to reduce energy problems. How would you work to accomplish that goal as a public service commissioner?
Well, interestingly, I'm already doing that in my professional work. For a period of years, I worked with the Midwestern Governors Association, coordinating advisory groups for the governors, and part of our work was to increase cooperation between states across the Midwest for electric transmission. And as a result of that work, states in the Midwest, including North Dakota, are working with the Midwest Independent System Operator, which is the organization that manages our electric grid, and they have come up with a plan and a formula for paying for about $5 billion worth of investment in new transmission. And that was a long-term planning effort that will have great benefit to North Dakota. In fact, by 2018, there'll be a power line coming through South Dakota up to southern North Dakota where my ranch is, and it'll allow about 1,000 megawatts of new wind energy development. I think actually North Dakota is doing a better job now in being involved in working with our neighbors to develop transmission resources. But if elected commissioner, I will continue to play a leadership role with commissioners in other states that I know and work with today, and to try to encourage more cooperation between industry, advocates of renewable energy, companies that work with coal-based generation, all the different generators of electricity that need a better grid, as well as the states that purchase power from us and are our customers.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Crabtree and Mr. Wojtek. Thank you for joining us today, and we do lament that the Republican representative for the candidates of superintendent or the Public Service Commissioner, couldn't join us this evening. But thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you again, Josh, for
Thank you, Mr. Crabtree.
And up next, we have the Superintendent of Public Instruction, who will be joining us in studio, Christian Basler and Tracy Potter, who will be talking with me about their election right after this.
Father.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community. Get the resources you need.
Can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Week in bad stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community. Get the resources you need.
With friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
For this week in bad stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov. If
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community. Get the resources you need.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats. Bad stats? Horrible stats. Here goes. 260. That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded less. Wow, very good. Here's a tough one. 3 and 4. No entries. That's the number of kids who witnessed bullying. 3 out of 4. Not this step. No, it's not. But that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying. There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Welcome back. You're watching the 2012 Biennial Candidate Forum on JCTV 16 and DACTEL Channel 17, as well as being simulcast live on KJKR 88.1 FM. Welcome back to the program. Joining us next are the candidates for Superintendent of Public Instruction. Kirsten Basler holds a master's degree in Education and Library Information Science and has spent more than 21 years in public education. Tracy Potter was previously a member of the State Senate in North Dakota. While in the Senate, he served on the Industry, Business, and Labor Committee, as well as the Transportation Committee. He has been a high school teacher as well as a graduate student while attending the University of North Dakota. Mr. Potter, we're going to begin with you. You have a minute to give your opening statement.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a master's in history from the University of North Dakota. I'm the author of Sheheke Mandan, Indian Diplomat. I've spent my life in public service in North Dakota, either in government or in the nonprofit sector. And I look at this job. It's a big job. It's a huge job, a $1.7 billion job. I look at it as really the most important thing that we do for North Dakota. It is the most important thing that state government does, is educate our young people. And I look forward to the challenge of helping do that.
Mr. Potter. Ms. Basler, you have a minute to give your opening statement.
As you mentioned, I have dedicated my entire career, my entire adult life to the education of children. I believe that it's the most important job that we can ever do. In addition to spending the last 21 years in the hallways and knowing the impact of what public education policy and public education law does to the day-to-day work of our schools, I've also been the school board president of Mandan School District for the last 7 years. With that came the leadership necessity to lead 500 employees that has a $33 million budget. And I think that comprehensive aspect that I bring to the job of Superintendent of Public Instruction will serve me well.
Thank you very much, Ms. Basler. And we're going to stay with you with the first question. Now, public education is always an issue that attracts strong views on both sides of the aisle. In North Dakota, though, the office of superintendent is nonpartisan in nature, but that doesn't stop controversy from being attracted to education, both basic and higher. There are many small schools throughout the state, one of which I attended, which some say don't or can't adequately serve the students. What do you see as the challenges North Dakota education faces, as well as how do our public schools go forward in the 21st century?
I think you've established that question very well. We have such a diversity of school districts and school children within those schools that it will be important that we do meet the needs of all of our children in North Dakota. I believe that we have several opportunities that are before us. Technology will play an integral role in how we are able to deliver the education that we need to all of our students in North Dakota, regardless of the size of their school. I am a graduate from a Class B school, Flasher High School, and then, of course, became the leader of the Mandan Public School, a Class A school. And so I do understand that difference. The REAs, the Regional Education Associations that are established in North Dakota, will play a very collaborative role with the Department of Public Instruction for the ability to deliver what we need to all of our students, almost 100,000 of our students in North Dakota.
Again, for the second question, Ms. Baszler, but as a longtime educator, do you see the small schools in North Dakota as an asset, or do you believe that there is a merit to mergers of small schools with larger districts as far as opportunities for students and cost savings for taxpayers?
I believe it'll be very important for local communities to make those decisions. As we move to this new time, this new era of North Dakota, and we're seeing more increased enrollment rather than the declining enrollment that we've seen over the last 10 years, we are going, again, to have to deliver the resources to our school districts that will allow them to deliver services and high-quality education to all of our kids in North Dakota, recruiting and retaining quality teachers in all size schools. We have a large geographic area to cover in North Dakota as well. We don't want those students spending too much time on the buses as well. So there are many factors that need to be considered, and that's why I am a firm and an adamant believer in local control, because the best decisions are made for children by those people closest to those children.
Definitely. Now, Mr. Potter, I'm going to ask you the first question I asked Ms. Baszler, but what do you see as the challenges North Dakota education faces, as well as how do our public schools go forward in the 21st century?
The first problem that North Dakota faces right now is growth. It's rapid growth in the oil patch particularly, but in other schools as well, because our economy is booming, and we suddenly see a lot more kids after decades of school consolidation and declining enrollments in rural areas particularly. We now see the opposite. And the first thing we have to do is deal with that. And the way to deal with it is not to place the burden on the property taxpayers, but it's to have state impact aid that provides the infrastructure and the housing for the teachers, provides the local school districts that have creative solutions, but gives them the opportunity to be able to implement those solutions. But there are other threats to our education, and one of those threats is, I believe, the federal government's impetus to measure our teachers based on the quality or on the test scores of their students. Teaching is an art form, and it's very difficult to do this. I'm skeptical that we can move in that direction.
Now, Mr. Potter, as a senator, you obviously had a lot of experience in the government side of education. You've also been a high school teacher. So how do both of those roles and experiences make you the better candidate for superintendent of public instruction?
Not just those, but beyond that, I've also run a state agency. I was the state's tourism office administrator. I understand. Right now, I manage a staff of 100 people in the summer at Fort Abraham Lincoln State Park, Fort Abraham Lincoln Foundation. I know how to manage an office that is large as this one is. I know how to work with state employees. And the classroom teaching experience and the teacher training that I had at the University of North Dakota are what inform my ability to deal with educational issues and push an agenda, which is it's all about the kids. And how do we make sure that our education is matching what those children are going to need in the 21st century?
Well, Mr. Potter, thank you so much for joining us. And Ms. Baszler, thank you so much to you as well. We know that this time of year is probably the busiest time of year for people running for office, but we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us.
Thank you, Matthew.
Up next, we shift our focus from state offices to representation in the state legislature, as our state senator for District 12 candidates, John Grabinger and Bernie Satchram, will join me right after this.
Stats. Here goes. 260. That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded less. Wow, very good. Here's a tough one. 3 and 4. No entries. That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4. Not to the extent. No, it's not. But that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying. There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Johannesburg, South Africa. An 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
You're watching the 2012 Biennial Candidate Forum on JCTV 16 and DACTEL Channel 17, as well as being simulcast live on 88.1 KJKR FM. Welcome back to the program. Next, we turn to the state representative for District 12. Joining us are 2 of the candidates for the seats in District 12. Incumbent State Representative Lyle Hansen is a Democrat of Jamestown and is a retired public school teacher. And Alex Loyson is a current Jamestown College student who is running on the Republican ticket for the first time. Mr. Hansen, we'll let you have a minute for your opening statement.
Hi, I'm Lyle Hansen, originally from Gwinnett, North Dakota, where I went to high school, and I used to be a parseman for Bobcat. I went to college at Allendale State Teachers College, and I have a master's degree from Morehead State. I taught school for 32 years, 26 here in Jamestown, and I retired several years ago.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hansen. Mr. Loyson, you have a minute for your opening statement.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Alex Loyson, candidate for the North Dakota House of Representatives. I would like to thank Jamestown College and DACTEL for putting this on, as well as Lyle, thank you for your time, and for you, the viewers. North Dakota has the lowest unemployment rate in the country and a surplus projected to be over $2 billion. We have been blessed and are living in exciting times right now. We are about to experience the single largest private investment in North Dakota's history by Cenex Harvest States, just a few miles east of Jamestown. Some may fear the growth and changes it brings to our community. I, on the other hand, embrace it. My campaign slogan has been, preserve our past, grow our future. I believe we can improve our quality of life while prospering both financially and culturally from these exciting changes. Don't get me wrong, there will be growing pains, but with the right leadership, they can be managed and North Dakota can continue to lead the nation. I respectfully ask for your vote and guarantee you I will work tirelessly to represent all the residents of District 12 and help lead you and your family to an even brighter future.
Well, thank you, Mr. Loyson. Now, you commented about the prosperity that North Dakota enjoys and the low unemployment rate. But how would you, as a member of the State House, continue that prosperity and actually improve it?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, and there's a few things that we need to make sure happen in the next legislative session, and that really deals with our surplus. And one thing I really don't want to happen is for our quality of life to go down. We need to see that continue to improve. So with that, we need to make smart, wise investments. A few of those investments I'm talking about are in infrastructure, not only out west, but here in Jamestown too, and close to home. We also need to invest in our education system, make sure that the children are getting educated to the highest degree that they can. And then also returning money to the taxpayers. That's a huge thing, whether that be property tax relief or different forms of tax relief. We definitely need to make sure that we do that. And last, let's continue to invest in our future and make sure that we have money when maybe this oil money runs out or something like that. Just make sure that we have planned accordingly.
Now, Mr. Loyson, this is your first run for elective office. You're a relative newcomer to the public arena. I don't think you could get any fresher, one could say. But do you think that freshness is something of value people are looking for in a state representative?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I have a lot of energy and a lot of desire to lead, and with the freshness brings new ideas and brings a new perspective to Bismarck. And I guarantee you I will work hard, I will work tirelessly, and I'll have a lot of energy and just use some common sense over there in Bismarck to ensure that North Dakota continues on the path of prosperity.
Well, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Hansen, North Dakota enjoys a major surplus of cash and perhaps the lowest unemployment rate in the nation, sometimes below 1% in some areas of North Dakota. But how would you, as a member of the State House, continue that prosperity and actually improve it?
Well, we'd have to take care of our infrastructure in every county, not just in western North Dakota, where the oil boom is taking place. But we don't want to have another Williston where you got more people than you have room for. For example, Williston State College in the special session last fall, the legislature appropriated $2 million to the college for security. Any women that leave the campus at night must go in pairs. There are more accidents out there, more robberies, or whatever, and we also then had to buy or pay for more police, more security, and many things like that. Growing pains are something that we don't want, but in the case of Williston, but it's good if you can handle it in the near future with more policemen, more security, and so on.
Definitely. Security is such a valuable commodity. Sometimes we don't appreciate it as much as we should. But Representative Hansen, you've served the 12th district in the State House since 1978, which is a very long time. You've seen good times and bad in North Dakota. In your experience, what stands out as the most important lesson you've learned that helps make you a better representative of the people?
Probably I've been able to work with the Republicans and the Democrats, and I'll give you an example. I put a bill in 4 years ago which would require each student in senior high to take history of North Dakota. This passed the House Education Committee with no dissenting votes. It went to the floor. It passed the floor with no dissenting votes. It went to the Senate. It went in the Senate Education Committee. It passed with no dissenting votes. Went to the floor in the Senate, and it passed there with no dissenting votes. That's very unlikely for a bill to go through, especially when I was the only one that sponsored the bill. Usually you have probably up to 6 people sponsoring it, and you got more help to get it through. But this bill went through with no dissenting votes, and that doesn't happen very often.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hansen, for joining us, and Mr. Loyson, we really appreciate your joining us this evening and late in October. Mm-hmm. And best of luck to you both on November 6th. Joining us next will be Jessica Heck and Kenneth Hall, the other two candidates for representative from District 12, right after the break.
get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats. Bad stats? Horrible stats. Here goes. 260. That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded less. Wow, very good. Here's a tough one. 3 and 4. No entry. That's the number of kids who witnessed bullying. 3 out of 4. Not to extent. No, it's not. But that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying. There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
If you're looking for a fun new friend, run. Shelters are the best places to find one. There you'll discover happy, loving animals, nothing but fun. Visitors become a part of your family.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At iava.org, your friendly friends are all around you.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats. Bad stats? Horrible stats. Here goes. 260. That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded less. Wow, very good. Here's a tough one. 3 and 4. No entry. That's the number of kids who witnessed bullying. 3 out of 4. Not to extent. No, it's not. But that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying. There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
If you're looking for a fun new friend, run. Shelters are the best places to find one. There you'll discover happy, loving animals, nothing but fun. Visitors become a part of your family.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats. Bad stats? Horrible stats. Here goes. 260. That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded less. Wow, very good. Here's a tough one. 3 and 4. No entry. That's the number of kids who witnessed bullying. 3 out of 4. Not to extent. No, it's not. But that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying. There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
In 1977,
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
If you're looking for a fun new friend, run. Shelters are the best places to find one. There you'll discover happy, loving animals, nothing but fun. Visitors become a part of your family.
Welcome back to our program. Joining us next are the candidates for the state senator in District 12. John Grabinger is the owner of Grabinger Marine here in Jamestown and is a former Jamestown City Councilman. He is running on the Democratic NPL tickets. Opposing Grabinger is Bernie Satcham, who is a local businessman in Jamestown and is running on the Republican ticket. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Mr. Grabinger, we'll start with you. You have a minute to give your opening statement.
Thank you. Hello. First, I'd like to thank the Jamestown College for hosting. I served as an elected city council member for 8 years and a volunteer firefighter for 16 years. I've seen firsthand how important public service is and how fulfilling it can be. I feel if I'm elected to continue to serve the citizens, it's my desire to focus on my efforts on the issues where I can definitely have an impact. The issues that I feel are important to our everyday life and our future, such as the burden of high taxes, infrastructure throughout the state, and funding of education. We must bring common sense to our legislature that is both transparent and ethical. Having served as City Council President, Chair of the LEC Governing Board, Chair of both the Public Works and Police and Fire Committees, and past President of the St. John's Academy School Board, I have always challenged any wasteful spending. I feel the surplus we have gotten from the oil, coal, and gas, we must take this opportunity to invest in our state as wisely as possible. We must invest in our youth, higher education, flood protection, and, of course, our neglected infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grabinger. Now I'll move on to Mr. Satcham. You have a minute for your opening statement.
My name is Bernie Satcham, and much of my adult life has been creating businesses and jobs. And I got into this race because I want to help Jamestown to build a brighter future. I got into this race because I believe that Jamestown deserves more. My vision for a bright and prosperous future in Jamestown, where we can build a strong community where our families can flourish. For the last 50 years, we've had 15,000 people. Many of our best and brightest have left because of lack of opportunities here. It's as if someone has had a foot on the brake. It's time for us to move forward together because Jamestown deserves more. I'm excited about the Red River Valley and what's happening there, as well as what's happening out west. And I'm particularly, we have an amazing opportunity. Right now we have 2 plants coming out on the Spiritwood, and it was because of this railroad spur that was invested. I'm in favor of this investment. Thank you.
Interrupt you there, but earlier this year, voters in North Dakota, and I'm addressing this to you first, earlier this year, voters in North Dakota voted to reject a ballot measure to repeal property taxes throughout the state. Now, that proposal would have depended on the massive surplus in revenues from the western oil patch to fund local and county governments. While the issue is dead for the moment, how would you, if elected to the Senate, address the tax issue and the oil revenue issue?
Well, right now there's a proposal for about $500 million, property tax relief. There's $100 million income tax relief, and then $25 million corporate tax relief. Tax relief is a wonderful thing. What happens is that people have the money to invest themselves, and what's been happening is that that people can build their own lives, that they can save for their futures, they can get married, they can buy a house, they can do wonderful things. So it's a wonderful thing, and that's part of Governor Dalrymple's proposal, and I plan on supporting that.
Mr. Satcham, you've been a local businessman for many years, but have never held elective office. Now, business owners often face similar problems as office holders, such as balancing budgets and making decisions that affect others. How do your experiences as a business owner prepared you to be a better state senator than your opponent?
Well, I think part of it is vision. There's an old proverb that says that without vision, the people perish. And as an entrepreneur, as somebody that starts a business, I understand the stresses of and the challenges of starting a business, and I think I'll be particularly well-versed in that. Jamestown needs to grow, and we need to create an environment, and I understand what that environment is.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Satcham. Now, Mr. Grabinger will ask you about the ballot measure to repeal property taxes, and it's dead for now, a dead issue, but what is your view on taxes and perhaps tax relief for the citizens of North Dakota and the oil revenue coming from out west?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I wouldn't necessarily consider it a dead issue. Yes, it was voted down, But at the same time, I think a message was sent to the legislature, and most legislators respect that we need to take some action. We need to do some changing. We need to bring some relief to our citizens. And there's several proposals on the table to do that. One, Governor Dalrymple has one. Senator Taylor has one where the first $100,000 of your home would be clear of property taxes. There's also a consideration on a sales tax measure. And another one that isn't talked a lot about is the opportunity for us to enhance the education funding from the state. Right now, the legislature brought it up to a 70% level. If we increase, that lessens the burden on our local taxes as well, because nearly 60% of your local property tax is going to your education system. So therefore, we have an opportunity to bring some of this wealth from the West back to all of our citizens throughout the state. And I'd like to see that done.
Well, thank you, Mr. Grabinger. And my next question is also for you. You've been a small businessman like Mr. Satrom, but yet have also served on city council. How has that and perhaps other experiences in your life prepared you to be perhaps a better choice for the Senate than Mr. Satrom?
Well, without question, being in public service as a city councilman, I had to make decisions that affected people's lives sometimes daily. And in doing that, you take very serious what you do. And I took very serious my job as a city council member. I believe I was probably one of the most fiscally responsible council members when I served. I served with some very great council members, and I think using that in my business experiences and putting that forth, I think I offer the citizens of District 12 trusted leadership that's going to be fiscally responsible when we go to Bismarck.
Well, Mr. Grabinger, thank you for joining us this evening. Mr. Satrom, thank you for joining us as well. Gentlemen, best of luck to you, and may the odds be ever in your favor, as one novel says. But in all seriousness, thank you for joining us tonight, and good luck.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Up next will be our state representative for District 12 candidates, Jessica Hake and Kenneth Hall, who will join us in studio here to talk about their race and the issues that face the representative after the break.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At iava.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats. Bad stats? Horrible stats. Here goes. 260. That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded. Wow, very good. Here's a tough one. 3 and 4. No idea. That's the number of kids who witnessed bullying. 3 out of 4. Not fix that. No, it's not. But that can change. Kids want to help
anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At iava.org, your fellow vets are all around you.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats. Bad stats? Horrible stats. Here goes. 260. That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded less. Wow, very good. Here's a tough one. 3 and 4. No entries. That's the number of kids who witnessed bullying. 3 out of 4. Not to fix that. No, it's not. But that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying. There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Welcome back to the Jamestown College Candidate Forum. I'm Matthew Neese. We just talked with our state senator representatives for District 12 candidates, and next we'll again turn to the state representative candidates for District 12. Joining us are Jessica Hake, who is a graduate of Jamestown College and is the member development director for the North Dakota Farmers Union. She is running for the seat of retiring state representative Joe Kraber on the Democratic NPL ticket. On the Republican ticket is Ken Hall, who is a veteran of the United States Army, worked in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and has more than 31 years of government experience in all. Mr. Hall, Ms. Hake, thank you for joining us this evening. Mr. Hall, we'll give you the first opportunity to give your opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Like you said, my name is Ken Hall, and I'm running for the District 12 House. Thank you to the people that are sponsoring this, and I appreciate the opportunity to state my case. I spent most of my life in public service, so this is my first shot at politics. I don't intend to become a career politician. Our country was founded with the intent that it be governed by citizen legislators, not career politicians. My priorities will be investing in infrastructure, creating good-paying jobs, and improving the quality of life. North Dakota is at a crossroads in the terms of the future. We need to preserve the open spaces and high-quality environment that we enjoy, and at the same time encourage development so that our children and grandchildren will have greater opportunities than we had. Thank you.
Ms. Hake, you have a minute for your opening statement.
Wonderful. Well, I would like to thank JCTV for putting on this wonderful event, and for DACTEL for airing this, and to you, the viewer, for spending your time with us this evening. North Dakota Legislature has a great opportunity this upcoming session. Education is one of my key priorities. How many of you have children and grandchildren who are in school right now? Education is a great equalizer, and it is the most important investment we can make for the future. Also, we need to address critical infrastructure needs. And another important thing is property tax reform. How many of you live in homes and feel the burden that taxpayers pay? I am a homeowner. I have been for the last 3 years, so I understand the burden that taxpayers are paying. In my professional career at North Dakota Farmers Union, I've had hands-on experience with all three of these issues. And in my job in Senator Conrad's office, I worked with Republicans and Democrats alike to find sound solutions for constituents. I will take that bipartisan effort to Bismarck and work for the people of District 12.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Hake. And we'll stay with you for the first question. Both of you talked about investments, and North Dakota is facing probably a pretty unprecedented time in its history with job growth and unemployment rates so low and surpluses from oil revenue, how would you, as a member of the State House, continue that prosperity and maybe improve it?
I think the most important thing we can do to continue growth is address the needs we have with the infrastructure needs. Right now in Stutsman County alone, we need roughly $25 million. And with the new fertilizer plant that's being built out by CHS, and North Dakota Farmers Union had a great part of that, we need to be proactive rather than reactive so we can allow families to move in here and be part of that growth and become part of our communities so we can have young working families here. So I would sit down with county, state, and federal leaders and figure out what needs we have here, whether it be housing, addressing infrastructure needs, or law enforcement.
Now, Ms. Hake, you mentioned your work with the North Dakota Farmers Union,
Sure.
and you've also been involved with the United Way,
Yeah.
the American Association of University Women and other local organizations.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
very busy.
Yep.
And how does those experiences help inform you of the people's concerns and what your aim should be should you win election?
Well, through my work in the United Way, I have had the wonderful opportunity to meet with the 22 agencies that we have in the United Way, so I see all kinds of needs that we have in the community. I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I'm a coach Special Olympics volleyball, and I'm a volunteer at the Safe Shelter. So that gives me a background of connecting with a wide variety of people and understanding what different kinds of people need and what their backgrounds are. And through my work at Farmers Union, I've been blessed to work with the legislature several times. So I've built relationships with already sitting legislators, which will be great when I go there with my teammates from District 12 and already have those relationships in place. So it's been a wonderful blessing to be part of this community. I love Jamestown. I love being here. And I absolutely would take all of those experiences to the legislature.
Mr. Hall, as I mentioned earlier, North Dakota is facing perhaps an unprecedented time in its history with the revenue from oil fields and other avenues. How would you, if you were a member of the State House, continue that unprecedented prosperity and perhaps improve upon it?
Thank you for that question. I would focus pretty much on trying to keep my eye on the ball rather than worrying about all the small side things that are going on and how to spend this money. We need to first fund our priorities, which are infrastructure and social services and things like that. We need to fund those. And second of all, we need to plan for the future so that if the oil money ever runs out, we need to have a backup plan for that so we can continue our prosperity there. And then thirdly, I think we need to give money back to the people, the taxpayers that pay it in. And I think if we do that and keep our eye on the ball, we're going to be able to continue our prosperity and keep the oil flowing, so to speak. Thank you.
Now, in your 31 years of government experience, Mr. Hall, what problems have you had to overcome in that service that would help you serve the people of District 12 as their representative?
Yeah, in my job with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, we had many problems that we faced over the years. I was working when the Conservation Reserve Program began and the Wetlands Program began. We had a lot of challenges with that. We had to educate farmers about how the programs work. So I did a lot of speaking in public on that and worked with farmers all over the state. I've worked in 6 or 7 different towns around the state during my career and met a lot of people, worked with a lot of district boards, soil conservation district boards. And it's always a challenge when you work with other people because they all have different interests and you have to try to balance those needs and do your best job to bring them all together to do the right thing.
Well, thank you for joining me, Mr. Hall, and
thank you,
Ms. Hake. It's a pleasure to meet you both and to talk with you about these issues. And best of luck to you both. Joining me next are the Stutsman County Commissioner candidates Nellie Deegan and Mark Closey, right after this.
Financially speaking, North Dakota is probably one of the best off of all the states in the nation. With your extensive background in financial management, holding a doctorate in finance, what do you feel are some of the most important things the next insurance commissioner can do to ensure this continued prosperity in North Dakota? And what is your position on balancing this prosperity with the well-being of North Dakota?
One of the biggest threats to small businesses, and I'm here at a Chamber of Commerce gathering of small business people, one of the biggest threats to small business is the continuing rapid increase in health insurance premiums. Obamacare is designed to confront that and reduce that, and as the insurance commissioner, I will make sure that the framework of that statute, and that's all it is at the moment, is just a framework. There are no decisions that have been made yet. I will make sure that that's implemented in North Dakota in a way that will address the rapid rise in insurance premiums, corral healthcare costs, change the way we deliver healthcare, make it more affordable and more competitive. And I'm devoted to doing that. And with my background in insurance and finance, I think I know how to do that. I've been talking with insurance companies and physicians.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community. Get the resources you need.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. Five seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
If you're looking for a fun new friend, what a day. Shelters are the best places to find one. You don't say. There you'll discover healthy, happy, loving animals.
Nothing but the best.
Waiting to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community. Get the resources you need.
You're watching the 2012 Biennial Candidate Forum on JCTV 16 and DACTEL Channel 17, as well as being simulcast live on KJKR 88.1 FM. Welcome back to the program. Turning now to the County Commissioner's race, we're joined tonight by 2 incumbents and 2 challengers for the seats. First, we have Nellie Deegan, is what and we mean this as a compliment. She could be called a gadfly. She takes a strong interest in community affairs and serves on volunteer boards throughout the community. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Deegan.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. And Commissioner Mark Closey has served on the Stutsman County Commission for 6 terms and presently is the chairman of the board. He serves on the Social Services Board, the Jamestown Stutsman Development Corporation, and is a self-employed business owner. Mr. Closey, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And we'll begin with you. You have a minute to give your opening statement.
Okay, first of all, I guess, Matthew, I'd like to take a little bit of an opportunity to tell people a little about myself, and you've done some of that already, but my wife, Mona, is employed here by the college and is a nursing instructor. I got 2 children, Andrew and his wife, Kristen, who are both graduates of Jamestown College, and my daughter, Rachel, attended school here for 1 year. As you mentioned, I've been on the commission and currently serving on various boards, and I think I've got a pretty good knowledge of county government, and I've enjoyed working for the taxpayers of Stutsman County for the past several years. I think that with all the new exciting things happening in our development, economic development, that I can provide some expertise being involved for that length of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Closey. Ms. Deegan, your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Natalie Deegan, and I've been a resident of Jamestown for the last 17 years, and I have a lot of experience in government and present as well as in the past. I've developed the Parent Awareness Prevention Center here in Jamestown for the school district. I'm the advisor entrepreneur for that. I've worked with legislators, congressmen, senators, had helped lobby for different policies, health, education, law enforcement, civil rights, education, and the component of developing other avenues as well as real estate, road, state issues. I have such a random of things that I've done, but the most important, the reason I am running for a county commissioner is because in order for us to change policies at a local level, at a state level, it starts at grassroots. And if you dedicate yourself strongly for the voices of the people, this is where it is. Because when you contact Washington, which I have done, they always say, Mrs. Deegan, it starts at grassroots. And that's
Ms. Deegan,
true.
I'll have to interrupt you there, but
That's
thank
okay.
you so much. Now, 2 years ago, and I'll address this to you first, Stutsman County faced a ballot initiative that would have stripped nearly $1 million from the operating funds in order to allocate it to road funds. That measure was defeated, but Stutsman County, a large county in land size, still faces road and infrastructure problems. How would you handle those, and what do you see as the best way for a small county in population terms to survive economically?
Well, I think we do have infrastructure situations, but also we have to remodify our format that we're using at this time. And we have a lot of new revenue coming in, and we need to earmark, designate it, allocate it, revamp it, because the way the structure is now, it is a difficult task. But if it's not working, and we can't depend always on saying that the taxes are going to be there. So we do have the budget. We can reallocate, and it's something that we need to take very seriously because we have a high population of seniors and a lot of young people that are holding up 2-3 jobs, and we need to make sure that we work outside the box and get the resources that we need. And if we don't have them, we need to create them ourselves.
All right. Now, Ms. Deegan, you are well known throughout the Jamestown community, being involved with the school board committee and also the host of your own cable television show. How have your myriad of experiences prepared you to be a Stutsman County Commissioner?
Well, it's not just because I do those things. I've dedicated my whole life to community. I mean, since early years in California as well as here. And when you live in a community, you have to be versatile, and it is our civic right as a private citizen to get involved with our community, and no matter what facet it is. I have the passion for it. I always have, and I always will. And so if I'm elected as a county commissioner, I will listen to the people. I will go whatever I have to do with them, whatever level of government that we have to address. Because in order for you to reach goals at our state and local and nationally. You have to have the passion. You have to believe in the people, and you have to believe in what you are. And as far as for myself personally, I'm going to be this way the rest of my life. I love it, and I'll tell you, if I was going to vote for somebody like me, I would vote for myself too. So the thing is you have to believe in the community. They come first. It's not about serving our elected officials. It is about serving the people and the goodwill of the people.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Deegan. Commissioner Closey, I'm going to address to you the first question about ballot measure 2, I believe it was, that was introduced several years ago that would have allocated funds away from the operating and general fund to an infrastructure fund to help build the roads and maintain the infrastructure here in Stutsman County. Being a large county with a rather small population, how do you view the county commissioner's office as being able to best serve the people of Stutsman County economically?
Okay, Matthew, the first part of it, we were strongly against the measure to raid other funds to rob Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. We've, on 5 occasions, have put before the people a ballot measure, mixtures of property tax, sales tax, new funding opportunities to take care of our road infrastructure, unsuccessfully. Stutsman County, basically, like all counties, has a couple of areas that can generate revenue that we have taxing authority over. One of them is sales tax. The other one is property tax. So with that, we're limited on our financial side of things. We've got several miles of blacktop road that's in need of repair. I'm a fiscal person. I'm a realist, and I know that if we've got X number of dollars to spend, that's what we've got to work with. We can't take and divert other funds to the Road and Bridge Fund automatically. We have several taxing authorities that when the money comes in, for instance, the school will get 50% of that. We can't take and just divvy this money up and put it into one department statutorily. So on that part of it, I think any future funding that we need, I firmly believe it's going to have to come in the form of an initiated measure by the people originated from, because quite frankly, we've tried on 5 occasions, and the people have voted it down. So I don't know if that's an answer to your entire question, but at least part of it.
You mentioned being a fiscal person, Commissioner Closey, but you've also been a person with over 24 years of experience as a commissioner and have served on various boards, have dealt with the good times and the bad. What do you see as the challenges for Stutsman County?
Well, one of the challenges is our infrastructure and how we're going to deal with that. As I mentioned, we've only got so many dollars to work with. We have prioritized our road network. We do need to review that from time to time because certain things happen. Traffic generators appear. Spiritwood is a prime example. And right now we're working on some of the infrastructure close by the plant, and going to try and upgrade that section of roadway through special assessments with the park members, Great River Energy, whoever else happens to be there. And that'll be a challenge. Another one will be the growth, employment growth, traffic growth, construction growth, temporary housing needs. We're working on that with the other political subdivisions at the time, trying to develop some plans of strategy on what may and may not occur until some of the things start falling into place. For instance, bid lettings and that type of thing with potential contractors that we could have discussions with and what their needs may be. I guess we're doing as much as we can, I think, at the present time, and there's still being some unknowns out there. So I like to think that we're on top of it. We've got a lot of things in the hopper. We're working with a lot of other companies that may want to be here too. So it's going to be an exciting time economically. And when you take a facility like the Cynics Harvest States and the Great River Energy ethanol plant, we're going to get 30-40% increase in our taxable valuation of this county, meaning it's worth that much more than when we started, plus the employment opportunities for the people and good paying jobs. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Closey, Commissioner Closey, and Ms. Deegan. Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Up next, we will be joined by the other two candidates for Stutsman County Commissioner, Dave Orr and David Schwartz.
Looking at the issues you list on your website, you cite states' rights as one of your key beliefs. In particular, you assert that laws made on the federal level will never fit North Dakota. If elected as North Dakota's representative in Congress, how will those beliefs inform your performance? Can you work with Republicans and Democrats to effect legislations that benefit North Dakota?
Well, it's not so much that they'll never fit. I think sometimes they will and sometimes they won't, but as a smaller population state, I don't think the interests of North Dakota are ever going to be as evenly represented in the United States Congress as they are for larger states, California, Texas, New York, and that sort. Additionally, the type of issues that Congress has paid more and more attention to, things like controlling what we do in our personal lives. They want to address who we sleep with, what food we eat, what drugs we take, things that really should be personal choices. This isn't the job description of a U.S. congressman. And I'm not entirely against social programs. If there's certain things that people or communities want to do, they should be able to do them, but it should be at a level where the people affected have a say, where it's not a blanket one-size-fits-all, preferably in a location where people can go and attend and meet the people making the decisions, and where it's in a format where someone can reasonably read and understand the laws that they're living under. That simply isn't the case at the federal level.
If you're looking for a fun new friend, what a day. Shelters are the best places to find one.
You don't say!
There you'll discover healthy, happy, loving animals.
Nothing but the best.
Waiting to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Welcome back to our show. In our last segment, we are joined by Stutsman County Commissioner candidates Mark Closey and Nellie Deegan. Now we are joined by David Orr, who is a former sheriff of Stutsman County and an office he held for many years. He was born and raised in Ypsilanti, and he wants to reconnect with the people. Commissioner David Schwartz is in his first term on the Stutsman County Commission. Mr. Schwartz serves on the Social Services Board, the Local Emergency Planning Commission, and obviously on the Commission. Mr. Schwartz, we'll begin with you. You have a minute to give your opening statement.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for inviting me here. Like I said, this is my first chance at a full term. 2 years ago, I was appointed to the position Doug Kaiser held after he passed away. It's been an exciting 2 years. We've had a lot of challenges. We've gone through 2 years of unprecedented flooding. We spent millions on grade raises between federal, state, and local dollars. We've been dealing with conditions at LEC, financial problems. It's been a busy 2 years, taken a lot of learning, worked with budgets. Overall, it's been a pretty rewarding experience.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Orr, you have a minute to give your opening statement.
I'm Dave Orr. I'm running for County Commission, and I was a sheriff, as he said, for 32 years. We, at that time, had many challenges, had many people that we worked with, different agencies, and had good cooperation with all of them. And I would like to kind of get back into that. I like government service, and I've done it all my life. Before I was sheriff, I was a veteran service officer and a civil defense director prior to becoming sheriff. And I was also a policeman for 8.5 years.
Mr. Orr, we talked in the first segment with Mr. Closey and Ms. Deegan about an initiative that was defeated several years ago in Stutsman County that would have allocated funds away from the general fund and the operating fund to a road building fund and basically an infrastructure fund. That measure was defeated, but Stutsman County is a large county, has a lot of roads, and it still faces infrastructure problems. How would you, as a commissioner, handle those problems, and what do you see as the best way for a county without a lot of people to survive economically?
Well, I know just in visiting with people and, like I said, my years working in the sheriff's office, you talk to a lot of different people. And I know one of the problems they have with trying to get an increase in taxes to help the county roads is a lot of the people you talk to say, look, when they put a overlay in front of my street, out in front of my house here in town, we have to pay for it. And that's their attitude, that the county should take care of their own. So I know they've had that measure up 2 or 3 times trying to generate some income, and it's never worked. And I don't think it will in the future. I think we're going to have to take a new look at this, and as Mark talked about, initiate measure from the people. And another thing that I was thinking might be feasible is to work with the township officers and maybe in districts such as our voting districts, and really sit down and see if they would be willing and I don't know if it's legal or how they would do it, but it's maybe something to look at, is set up districts in like a special taxing district, so that the ones that didn't want to pay more taxes wouldn't have to. But there is some townships and groups of townships that I think would probably, if we had a plan, and there's plans that the commission works on all the time, prioritizing roads. They study roads. They do traffic counts. They do all of those things, and they've got their priorities pretty much in a row. But I think if we worked, if it's possible to work with those townships, there's some townships that I think may be willing to pay a little more as a group to self-assess them. I know Midway Township has a road that the residents down there built and paid for by themselves, and it's a 10-year loan. Okay,
right.
And they.
Mr. Orr, sorry to cut you off, but we need to keep going. And you served. My next question to you is: you served as a sheriff for Stutsman County for over 3 decades, and have seen county commissioners come and county commissioners go. You've dealt with budget issues, crime and punishment, and a variety of personnel problems. How do those experiences inform your plans to serve if you were elected?
Well, I think it's a good experience. I know the last year that I was sheriff, I think my budget was around $500,000. I had to prepare that budget and present it to the commission. I had to stay within that budget, and I know sometimes I was called tight, but I wasn't really tight. I was just frugal. So.
Definitely. Now, Mr. Schwartz, we'll turn to you. My first question regarded the amendment the initiative, that would have allocated funds away from the general fund in the county's budget and the operating fund to a road fund, an infrastructure fund, to help build up the infrastructure in Stutsman County. Now, obviously, the infrastructure is a priority and has been repeatedly said to be a priority by the people who introduced the measure and other measures like it. But you have to weigh those with the few number of people in Stutsman County. So if elected to the county commission, what do you see as the best way for Stutsman County to survive economically?
Well, 2 years ago when that measure was defeated, it would have taken about $900,000 out of the general fund and applied it towards roads. At that time, approximately 20% of the general fund was committed to the LEC because of the shortcomings on the financial end of that. Also, it would have taken money away from other parts of the county. Another situation we've got problems with the flooding. We've spent approximately $3 to $4 million of county funding that would have been available for road construction just on our federal match of the grade raises that actually are still in progress. Although by using a little more common sense attitude on some of the engineering and the process on the grade raises, just recently we've reduced the cost on half a dozen of them by over $5 million, saving the county and $1 million out of pocket. As far as additional funding, every time a measure was brought forth, like an increase in property taxes, it's been defeated. There was some talk about trying to initiate a half-cent sales tax that would go towards roads. I don't know how that would go over either. In the short term, the state did allocate some money for us, extra in the last year. It's looking promising that there'll be some more. I think it's probably going to be short of what the county needs. We've got some real needs right now, especially with the expansion going on at Spiritwood. Other than the state, but the best thing we can do is try and spend the dollars more wisely that we do have available to us right now. There's other processes, other methods of reconstructing some of these roads that we're looking at. We do have the priority list. We have updated that recently because of the situation out there. We still have some projects that we are planning on going through with. We turned in 3 projects to the DOT last month in Bismarck. And depending on the cost of the initial projects will determine as far as how we can go with the rest of them.
Commissioner Schwartz, you served on a variety of boards in Stutsman County, and obviously for the last 2 years on. But what do you see the most important experience that you've had to prepare you to possibly continue your service?
Well, the most important experience I probably had is working with the other commissioners and the employees of the county. They've been absolutely wonderful. I've gotten a lot of support from them. It was a real sharp learning curve. I thought I knew what I was getting into 2 years ago. I had no idea the demands and the decisions that they are on a daily basis. You learn by doing, basically. I've learned a lot in the last couple of years. I've studied budgets. We've tried to actually decrease our budgets in a lot of areas. This last year now we were hit with the Hayes study for the social workers. Retirement, health insurance has gone up, which makes it more difficult too. But I think just my experience in the last 2 years, it's been, like I say, there's some conditions that we went through that you learn a lot just by doing the job.
Definitely. There's nothing quite like experience, I guess, and both of you gentlemen have plenty of experience in the realm of public office. Thank you, Mr. Orr and Mr. Schwartz, for joining me this evening. I really appreciate your joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Up next, we have the judge of District Court number 8 race, Richard Gross and Brad Cruff will be joining me in studio.
I'm Kevin Kramer. I'm North Dakota Public Service Commissioner, have been for the last 9 years, and it's been a great opportunity in this elected office for me to oversee the most dynamic energy economy in the world and to help be part of this incredible culture that we have in North Dakota where we understand value of investment and business, and I want to take that same thing now to the United States Congress. So I'm the Republican-nominated candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives. North Dakota only gets one member of Congress and member of the United States House. It's important that that one be an articulate, energetic cheerleader for North Dakota and somebody that has an intellectual understanding and curiosity to take what we've done here in North Dakota, creating the lowest unemployment rate, the most dynamic economy, the fastest growing personal per capita income in the country, all the while protecting our most vulnerable citizens, our environment and cultural resources, the welfare of the people. And it's been a great privilege to do that in elected office these last 9 years, and I look forward to the opportunity to do it again in the United States House of Representatives and do for the United States of America what we've done for North Dakota. So I appreciate the opportunity and would love to have your vote.
You guys are doing a great job, by the way. Thank you so much. I'm really not doing a good job, but thank you. I appreciate it. You gentlemen this evening. Oh, very good.
So we'll have you.
The Hazen area. I'm a rancher. I've been a state senator since 1994. I'm a director of a local telecommunications company, West River Telecom. We serve 17 counties in North and South Dakota, so I have a good background in telecommunications as well as representing energy country and being an ag producer. And those are really three of the big things that the Public Service Commission deals with. So in pursuing this, I have several goals, and one of them certainly is to make sure we take care of our land. And by that, I'm talking the land, the water, the air, everything. It's an important thing in my district with the coal reclamation and that sort of thing. I can see firsthand the times when we didn't used to reclaim land, and it just lays there as a mess. So reclamation is very important to me. I have about 800 acres of pasture that's watered from water coming out of a coal mine. That's important to me. We need to take care of the land. we also need to take care of farmers and ranchers and make sure they get a fair shake in their marketing and transportation of their product. And we need to get infrastructure built out. It is a terrible deal that we're transporting as much of our oil as we are with trucks. We need to get pipelines built because it's the safest and most efficient way of transporting oil. We need to get the trucks off the roads so the roads are safer. We need to be refining more of our oil right here in North Dakota, and we need to be capturing more of the natural gas. And that takes infrastructure. That's the only way it happens. And I just thought it was so exciting a few weeks ago when we got the news of the potential new fertilizer plant here between Jamestown and Valley City, and the thought that that is exactly the kind of economic stimulus that we need to encourage the capture of more of that natural gas. Those are the kinds of things that I've promoted in the legislature and in my telecommunications job, and it's the kind of things that I want to continue to promote in the Public Service Commission. We need a calm, cool head that weighs all the evidence and makes those decisions, and I think that I bring that to the table. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Welcome back to the 2012 Jamestown College Candidate Forum. I'm Matthew Neese. We're now joined by our last two candidates tonight, running for District Court Judge of the Southeast District Number 8. Judge Richard Gross is the incumbent judge on the bench. His opponent is Brad Cruff. Both are running as nonpartisan candidates. Mr. Cruff, I'll let you give your opening statement.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm running for this office to continue my career in public service. I've served as municipal judge, city attorney, county commissioner, and also as the Barnes County State's attorney. And in each and every one of those positions, I've always worked to make the entity that I'm employed by or the people elected me to serve in, to make that more efficient. And I believe I did that in all of those capacities. And that would be my intention to do so in the capacity as district judge. Make the system more efficient to hear cases in a faster basis to allow everybody their day in court. I'm qualified for this position because I have 11 years of private practice, 13 years of prosecution, and as state's attorney I was able to reduce bad checks in Barnes County by 75% by thinking outside the box and approaching a problem that I perceived in a different way. And now, without having to address those cases, we hear cases sooner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Croft. Judge Gross, you have an opening statement.
Thank you, Matt. And I want to thank the Student Media Center, Jamestown College, and DACTEL for hosting and broadcasting this forum. I've had the privilege of being your district judge, chambered in Wahpeton, for the last 17-plus years, first elected in 1995. I'm a United States veteran, a native of Wahpeton, and I am the assistant presiding judge for the Southeast Judicial District. Some of you may have some confusion about why the chamber in Wahpeton is going to be voted on in Jamestown, Stutsman County. Jamestown, Stutsman County is part of the Southeast Judicial District. There is positive developments in our district that should receive more publicity. I wish it did. We've now completed preliminary budgeting for a drug court in Jamestown. For those of you that aren't aware of a drug court is a specialized court where we will be able to more closely monitor those with chemical dependency issues in regards to testing, treatment, and supervision. So there are some positive developments to report for the district.
Thank you very much, Judge Gross. And you mentioned a drug problem that the court is addressing, and alcohol is one of the drugs that garners a lot of media attention. It's the alcohol problem, a binge drinking problem in North Dakota, ranging from underage drinking by high school and college students who often lament there's nothing else to do in North Dakota, to driving under the influence. Of late, several major accidents resulting in loss of life have been in the news. And recently, one state's attorney said he doesn't believe in prosecuting DUI arrests because people need their cars to get to work. How do we solve these problems, and what would you do as judge to address these issues?
Well, The first thing that I think will be done in our upcoming session is there's been a lot of discussion, policy questions that have to be determined by the legislature. I suspect that the DUI laws are going to be strengthened in a number of areas in the upcoming session based on the comments that I've heard, both from legislators, from judges, and from lawyers. Insofar as each district court is concerned, it comes down to a couple of things, as it always does with life. Education. Obviously, we need our parents, authority figures, law enforcement, all working with young people. There's a lot of programs that I'm aware of in regards to, for example, taking a crashed vehicle to the high school and showing, literally showing students what can happen by drinking and driving, the terrible carnage that takes place on our roadway. Sanctions and punishment, yes. It's part of life. It needs to be done to deter both specific deterrence of individuals who will drink and drive and also as an example to others not to drink and drive. Education, enforcement, and also we need to make sure at all times that parents, please do not let your young people drink at home. That's a bad example. And I've heard students in court before saying, well, they allow me to drink at home, so why can't I drink somewhere else? I would beseech parents, please don't host parties for your young people. I understand the theory. Then they won't go out and drive. But the law needs to be strictly observed here.
Well, thank you, Judge Gross. Now, how long have you been on the bench, and what have you learned in that experience that maybe helps color your sense of justice?
I've had the privilege since 1995 to be the district judge chambered in Wahpeton. It has, I don't even know if words can express the privilege that I've been given by this position. We need to make sure that we do have tolerance and compassion, especially for those that are chemically dependent. We need to provide the services to them. Even if you don't want to consider this in moral terms and economic terms, we need to make sure that there's programming available. I also want to say thank you to all of you for giving me this privilege since 1995.
Well, thank you very much, Judge Gross. Now, Mr. Cruff, we talked about alcohol and its rampant abuse in North Dakota. What is your opinion on this subject? And if you were elected judge of the District Court number 8, how would you solve and address these issues?
Well, Matt, I'm not going to solve it just by myself, regardless of whatever capacity I'm in. This is a statewide endemic issue. As was mentioned, education is a great starting point. A lot of our drug education does not start until the children are probably mid-elementary age. I'm on our Safe Communities Task Force. When our youngest son, Sam, started kindergarten, about the first thing he came home with from school was, you have to buckle up before you move the car. So they pick up on that stuff immediately at a very young age. And yet we wait to do the drug education till later in life when there are already probably some kids that age in the upper elementary that are already experimenting with drugs and alcohol. We're getting to them too late. One of my campaign planks is to establish a drug court. I'm thrilled that we're finally laying the groundwork to get one in this district. I've been pushing for that for a number of years. That's a start, but again, those people are already in the system, and you're looking to give them help, which is wholly appropriate. It's just one aspect of it. Our Safe Communities Task Force, we're looking to implement a last drink program to try and find the statistical data of where do DUI drinkers take their last drink. That'll help us to pinpoint the problem. Is it coming from bars? Are these people coming from homes? And so forth. So we can zero in on the drunk driving aspect of it and then work backwards perhaps and maybe address it on a more wider basis as underage drinking and teen drinking and leads to drug abuse and things of that nature.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned the drug court that you've been a rather large proponent of, but you're also running on a platform of innovative criminal justice solutions. What are these, and how do they differ from what's been done by others in the past?
Okay. I touched on it in my opening, Matt, and it dealt with the reducing bad check cases in Barnes County by 75%. When I was first appointed as the Barnes County State's Attorney, I kept seeing these same people over and over for repeat check offenses. And they would take a $10 check, and it would be a $300 check by the time they were done with court fees and so forth, but they continued to do it. The law allows for a repeat offender, if it's their fourth offense within 5 years, to be charged as a felon. I started doing that, and we reduced the bad check cases in Barnes County by 75% in a rather dramatic time frame, and that it's maintained down at that level with little fluctuations. Of those people I've charged out as felons in the past 5-6 years, not one of those has reoffended. Conditions of probation is they're not allowed to have a checking account while on probation. Some of them, if they're a serious offender, that I've requested or required that they obtain credit counseling. Because we want to get to the problem, we want those people to be productive and law-abiding citizens. That's obviously the goal. So it's taking that different approach, not just processing people as numbers or whatever they happen to be, but looking to what is actually the problem and going to that rather than just the normal status quo as to the way cases have been handled.
Mr. Croft, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Judge Gross, thank you for being on our program this evening. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. I hope that our discussion helped you form your opinion about who you'll be voting for and what you'll be voting on November 6th. For JCTV, Channel 16, Jamestown College, and Dakota Central Communications, I'm Matthew Neese. Have a great night.